In this video we're going to be looking at servicing a Brand X or PNY dropper post. I have seen people asking in forums and online if it is an easy thing to do, and it is. So I thought I'd show you how easy it is with a quick video. Okay, so there are a few things you're going to need to be able to service this post. First, you're going to need some grease. This is SRAM butter. A small Allen key. This is for taking out a couple of grub screws we'll get to in a bit. A 16mm spanner, and for cleaning off the old grease, some isopropyl alcohol, and obviously some rags to clean the grease off with. So you start by removing the saddle and letting all the air out through the valve in the top. This will stop it shooting across the room when you take it apart. Then you unscrew the collar. It's quite a long thread, so it takes a while to do. Slide it up. Okay, then we can take our 16mm spanner, or an adjustable spanner will do, just to get a grip on the bottom part, and then you can turn that and that starts to unscrew. And once it's loose, you can just do it by hand. It's quite a long thread on that one too. There we go, and pull it out there. So the white bits you can see are the top out bumpers. So when it goes up, you don't get a massive donk. And there's a couple of little grub screws in the side here. Just take our Allen key and take those out. They're what hold the end part onto the pole. Now, memory wasn't serving me quite correct when I was doing this. I was thinking you just had to loosen them, but they actually go all the way through, and you need to take the two screws all the way out. There's one of them. There's the other one. So now the end should just come off. Take off the rubber washer. And then the two top out stoppers. So now you can pull it apart. You might have noticed something fall on the table there. I'll get to that in a minute. So we've got our outer tube there. Not a lot to it. So there's our brass locators. This is what stops the saddle spinning side to side. You'll notice there's the one that fell off. They are literally just seated in there, nothing holding them in other than a bit of friction. And they locate in the grooves in this outer tube here. Okay, now you might have noticed something fly out the end there. That's actually the rod that sends the cable signal up to the compression chamber at the top of the seat post. So just careful with that. You might want to take it out rather than let it fly across the table. So all we're doing now is cleaning all the grease off. We've got a little bit more disassembly to do, but I'm just getting the grease off first so I didn't get too mucky. So now you might notice when you get to this stage you can't take the collar off. That's because they've got these plastic, the white plastic washers, I'll call them. They're not really washers, but whatever they're called. So they've got a split in them, and they can just be cleaned up and removed just by pulling them off the side. They're stretchy and they won't snap. You just open that up and pull it off. And then we want to clean all the other components. At the minute I'm just wiping them down to get most of the grease off, and then I'll spray them with the alcohol to get the residues off. Okay, so to be able to get the collar off we need to remove these brass locators. They might just fall out as you've seen one of mine doing there, but if you can't get it out, then it's best to use a pair of pliers to just grab it and pull it out. Okay, and we still can't slide the collar off because that white washer there has got a notch in it, so we need to take that one off too. Give everything a good wipe down to get rid of the grease. Pop the collar off. So now we'll spray it all with isopropyl alcohol. Give it another wipe down. This will just make sure it's super clean. Okay, now to clean the collar. Now you can get most of it off with a rag inside or a cloth inside, just clean it out, but there are a couple of little grooves inside. So you want to put something in there to scrape those out. Now we don't use anything sharp. I used the rounded end of a ball-ended Allen key to run through those grooves to get little bits of muck out. It is only coincidence, by the way, I'm wearing a GMBN t-shirt. I didn't do it intending to try and emulate the presenters of GMBN. Now I didn't really see the need to clean these bumpers off too much, seeing as you can see they are pretty clean and they just sit at the bottom of the rod bumping, so I don't guess they've got any way of getting dirty really, so they were just fine to leave as is. And clean the lower section, give it a spray, give it a wipe down. There's not too much on here to get mucky either. Just check it all works nicely. And that rod that I flung across the table earlier, let's give it a quick wipe. And then finally, just clean the outer tube. So it's got a O-ring that goes around the side there, just careful with that when you're scrubbing, and clean the insides out as best you can. It's probably best to get a dowel or something with some towel on it to run through the length. Okay, so now we're all cleaned up. Remember to put the rubber O-ring back in its place. Now we need to start reassembly. Okay, so first step is to apply grease liberally to everything. We'll start with this rod I flung across the table. Grease up this shaft here. Right, now to reassemble. So we've got our rod in, and we need to, first thing is put the collar on. So grease up the inside of the collar. I've already done that off camera. Slide that on. Next thing we need to do is one of the white washer collar things, and slide that around so the notch lines up with the middle of the 3 brass slots. Then put in the 3 brass things, and then the second of the plastic things can get clipped on. Just grease that around the inside there just to cut down on friction. Okay, now we can insert it into the tube. Now make sure you line up what's going to be the back of the seat post with the markings on with the middle of the 3 brass slots. Now we want to install our top out bumpers, followed by the rubber washer. And then finally the bottom assembly. Then the 2 pins that hold the bottom assembly onto the shaft. Okay, then slide it all back together. Screw in the lower part. You don't have to do it up too tight just yet. Thoroughly grease the shaft there, because when we slide down the top collar, it's going to make sure that grease is inside the seat post to keep it lubricated. Make sure the rubber O-ring is in place there, and screw on the collar. Okay, and if your hands are covered in grease, might be a good time to clean them off here or get something to get a grip on it. Okay, just to get it all tightened up nicely, we'll get our spanner back out again, and we'll hold the collar while tightening the bottom bit. Should get it all locked down. So that is our seat post fully serviced. So let's fit it to the bike and give it a go. So I hope you found this useful, or at least it showed you how it's done if you weren't sure. If you did find it useful, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It's all appreciated, and thank you for watching.
We're done.